Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good day to you, wherever you may be. We're here in Louisiana for Bayou Sports Talk. Let's introduce our panel, and I'm your moderator, Kay. Holla at him, Ray.
You must be on mute, buddy.
Oh snap! I am on mute. I forgot I put myself on mute. What's up, y'all? I was on mute. Uh, I'm here to give y'all, the topics. Give my input and aspects on topics we're gonna discuss today. Hope y'all tune in and enjoy.
All right. Holla at him, coach.
It's me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome, phenomenal, and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Boxing community. Shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. This is going to be a great show today. So y'all sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
All right, guys. Well, let's get started on our first topic. Let's talk about Terrence Bud Crawford. He overcame his childhood trauma, especially when you have a rough childhood, those things can be impactful. Start us off, coach. What do you think?
Well, since Terrence Bud Crawford beat Errol Spence, at this point, he already was pound for pound the number one best fighter in the world. But since he won arguably like the biggest fight, it's not the biggest fight from a rating standpoint in terms of being a draw. But for the hardcore boxing fans like myself, it was the most anticipated fight in the sport of boxing. And, since he won, not only is he pound for pound the best fighter in the world, but he's also the undisputed middleweight champion. And since he's won the fight, basically he's kind of been making his victory lap, and he's been making his rounds on different platforms. And recently he was on like a CBS morning show. It's kind of like similar to Good Morning America. I don't remember the name of the show. And they asked him about, his upbringing, his childhood. And basically, he grew up in a single parent household. But his mom raised him, but his dad, as a kid told him, hey, one day, because he was a boxer from an early age, he was hard-headed, he was stubborn, whatever the case may be. And his dad had told him, one day you're going to be a world champion. And his mom was like, no, he's not going to be squat, and basically, what she would do is she would pay any kid in the neighborhood from a boxing standpoint that could beat him up. She would give that child, hey, I'm going to give you $10 if you could beat my son. But the thing about it was nobody could beat him. And, as the child, he won boxing tournament after boxing tournament after boxing tournament. And he would win all these tournaments, hoping at the end of it, she would give him some type of praise, some type of affection, some type of adoration in terms of, hey, I love you. But she never told him, I love you, I'm proud of you, whatever that case may be. And it's the child that angered him, and it kind of gave him the fuel to become, the superstar boxer that he is. It fueled him. And the thing about it, like Custom Model used to tell Mike Tyson, like, is a young teen, like the pain and anger that you feel inside, basically you have to channel that in the right direction. And, as someone that's a teacher and a coach, every day I see students and student athletes that they don't know how to channel that anger in the right direction. But it fueled him. He's the number one pound for pound fighter in the world. He's been the undisputed champion in 2 different divisions. And, I really didn't notice about his childhood, his upbringing, his trauma. And of course, some people that has like a gynocratic ideology and mindset, they kind of saying that, hey, he's become this great champion because of his mom. And, I'm not like putting her down or casting aspersions upon her. He said part of the reason why she did the things she did was because she experienced that in her childhood. And, there's a phrase that hurt people. And that was the reason why, like, she did a lot of the things that she did. but he overcame that adversity, and he used it. And he's channeling in the right direction. And at this point, like, he's the most talked about boxer in the sport of boxing, and basically he's the man. And like many individuals are saying, of course, he's a millionaire now. He has a wife and he has children of his own. And basically, he said that no matter what he has going on, no matter what big fight he has, if he's in training camp, if his kids has anything going on, he's gonna be there for his children. Like, I think 48 hours after his mega fight with Errol Spence Jr., I think one of his sons had a track meet, and he was certain. He made sure that he was there, and he wanted to be, not just a dad, but he wanted to be a father to his children and be there for them, and not put his children through the trauma he went through. And despite what people say, he didn't become, this excellent athlete that he is because of his mom, but more so in spite of her. And he's just been able to overcome the trauma that he's gone through.
Okay. That that is, every child. I think every child wants their parents' recognition, and to get that praise from them. So, Ray, what are your thoughts?
I mean, with that, like I seen the interview as well, and he said that even before he did that interview. I'm one of those type of people that like to watch the fight episodes that like lead up to the fight. So it's like HBO or Top Rank, even the UFC, like leading up the fights. They'll put like the little documentaries of like the fighter training and stuff like that. So like he had said that like several times. He even said that on the Pivot podcast before he fought. He was talking about like his upbringing. Of course, now his relationship with his mom is like normal. They have a good relationship, but like yeah, he said all that did was like just fuel him, to become a better fighter, and just channeling that energy, that mentality, that angerness in the right way, and using it for the right things. So I mean, and he understands why his mom raised him that way, because that's how she was raised. So some people they just hard like that, you know what I'm saying? And that's the type of mom that he had, that I guess she was hard, and she probably didn't learn how to really be sovereign, and just very open hearted and stuff, like very sentimental and stuff like that. So of course, that makes him want to be a better father and things like that. But he used it for the right reasons. I'm glad him and his mom has a great and splendid relationship. But that's just my take on it. People go through things. Everybody's life ain't the same, but you just gotta continue to strive.
Yeah. And like you said, I'm glad he did turn that into fuel versus, become a negative thing. So let's shift things and focus on Clarice Shields. What are your thoughts, Ray? Start me off. She wants to fight Keith Thurman. Do you
Um,
think she can do it? What are your thoughts?
so my thoughts on Clarissa Shields is, me, do I think she should? No. Do I think she could beat him? No. What I think they ought to do is just spar. Uh, do like little kids used to do, go in the backyard and y'all just fight. But honestly, with my thoughts on Clarissa Shields, I'm more concerned with her going back to MMA just to see how she does in the PFL, because that's a trend that you're starting to see now, that you're starting to see a lot of crossovers. Some people they feel some type of way about it, but like I like it and I love it. It's because it's it's all combat sports. Like you have forms of boxing in the MMA. So why not? And that's what a lot of MMA fighters start off as boxers, and they like, well, the path to the MMA is way easier than a path to being a boxer, so they just become MMA fighters. So I like seeing the crossovers, and I watched her first and her second fight. You know, you could tell like she's learning, and that's the thing about it. So it makes me have a lot of respect for her as well. So I rather her, I rather her fight in the MMA before I see her fight a man and stuff like that. But I believe Andrew Tate was a pretty decent fighter. Of course, he never made it to anywhere like the UFC, but he was more known for kickboxing. Andrew Tate is what I heard. Um, but like, yeah, with that, like, yeah, then it is extra income as well. So it's like that's more money. Then you look at Francis Ngannou. Like nobody really cares if Francis Ngannou loses or wins. Most people like Francis Ngannou is gonna lose, but I feel like it would be good for the love of combat sport just to see that very powerful, heavy-handed Francis Ngannou with knockout power. Y'all might get on me for this, but I personally believe Francis Ngannou has more knockout power than Deontay Wilder. Of course, he's shorter. I will show you a clip. You shaking your head, but I will show you a clip. Francis Ngannou barely touched the person and knocked them out cold. He grazed their forehead. Go watch Francis Ngannou fight Rosenstrike. Francis Ngannou swarmed him. He threw 20 punches, didn't even touch him, and knocked him out. I'm telling you, bro. You shake your head, but it's the reason why Tyson Fury is like, I want to fight Francis Ngannou. I'm telling you, Francis Ngannou got some knockout power, and I think it's low key more than Deontay Wilder. But that's neither here nor there. Whenever that happens, we're gonna see. That's definitely another discussion topic for another episode. But before I go off the rails, because I kind of went off the tracks, but yeah, I think Clarissa Shields has no business fighting a guy. She should just spar him, and I'm more concerned with her how she does in the MMA. And I wonder if she would definitely think about fighting someone like Kayla Harris. Um, but yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Before we get coaches' thoughts, let's give our guys a shout out to Jared Green, and let's shout out Billy Bob, and also let's shout out everybody else that has been watching. Thank you. And coach, what are your thoughts?
Also, shout out to my brother Jay Good. What's good with your Billy Bob? Jared O11 Green. Shout out to the brothers. But before I get to the Clarissa Shields, I need to rebuttal what he said about Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou does have power. Dude, there's no way Francis Ngannou is even in the same stratosphere as Wilder. Wilder has vibranium in that right hand. Trust me. In fact, did you watch the Robert Helenius fight? Dude, he barely hit him and he stopped him. He is on a whole nother level. But that's another, like you say, that's another discussion for another day. There was a reason why Tyson Fury said, hey, I'm going to fight Francis Ngannou instead of fighting a full fight with Wilder. Or even fighting Usyk for undisputed. He chose Ngannou for a reason because that's a win. That's why. I mean, with Wilder and Usyk, they can win. Even though Ngannou started out as a boxer, because people don't realize this. Francis Ngannou did start out as a boxer, but he the handlers and whoever, they pushed him in the MMA direction. So, but like you said, that's another topic for another day. But in terms of Clarissa Shields, I don't want to see Clarissa Shields fight Keith Thurman. At no point. She does not, I mean, people don't understand. Maybe she looking at, I think there's multiple components to this particular issue. First, she's an ultra competitive person, like Rama says. Her being considered the greatest female boxer ever is not enough for her. She wants to fight in MMA. She wants to challenge men. And she doesn't realize, even though MMA, like Jay Good said, is additional income, but I think at the end of the day, she should just stay in her lane. If her and Keith Thurman fought, she would have 0% chance of winning that fight. I have, Senior has passed on. Our dad has passed on. May he rest in peace. But I have a mom, I have a sister, I have a niece, I have aunts, I have cousins. At no point would I want my female family members, my female friends, anybody that's beloved and close to me, I don't want them trying to engage in any type of physical confrontation with a male because they're at such a disadvantage. There's a reason why you never see WNBA players play against NBA players. And just from a coaching perspective, I'm gonna give you my perspective because at one point I was assistant coach for a high school both boys and girls team. And what I would do is, at the time, our female the girls team that I was assistant coach of, they were a playoff team. We went on a playoff run. We lost to like a powerhouse team in the state. And, we had a 6'2" center. And what teams would do is, since, they didn't want to get in a half-court game with us, what teams would do is pick us up full court and they would press us. So the other assistant coach, he was another guy. He had been coaching for girls basketball for years. He was very experienced. He said, well, coach, this is what we're going to do. Since we know teams is going to press us all the time, since you're the assistant coach for both of them, let your JV boys play against the girls and press them or whatever the case may be, so it can prepare them for the teams that they're going to face because teams really don't want to play in the half court because we have a 6'2" center. And, 6'2" center in a girls game is huge. But anyway, just to make a long story short, we would put these boys in, and these were like the end of the bench boys. And they were just dominating these girls, trapping them, turning the ball over, getting steals, layups. It got to a point, even the guys that are in the bench, they can't dunk and they're throwing alley-oops to each other. And I'm like, all right, fellas, like y'all doing too much. But the point I'm trying to make is, from a physical standpoint, it was no competition. Now, Clarissa Shields has uploaded sparring video footage of her fighting against other males. And she's going all out. And these guys are really not really fighting her that hard. She doesn't realize that. And like I said, maybe she might look at Keith Thurman in the welterweight division as the weakest link in terms of the elite fighters. But she don't realize, even though he ducked Crawford and he ducked Spence, he's still an elite world-class fighter. These guys that she's sparring, they like D and F level fighters, and even those guys are holding back on her. The clip she posted, if that guy really was trying to jab her and use the straight right hand and the left hook against her, and he really went all in, he would savagely beat her up. And from what I'm understanding, allegedly, like she sparred Spence years ago. And all he would do is get in the high guard, and she would try her best, like, to punch him. She couldn't even move him. And he really didn't go in on her, but he just beat her up to the body. But the point I'm trying to make is she has 0% chance of fighting him. Fighting him will set a bad precedent. And, there's multiple components to it. She's ultra competitive, one. Two, I don't care what nobody says. I think she maybe has a little bit of a crush on Keith Thurman. I think part of it is she's clout chasing. But at the end of the day, she really thinks she could beat him. I don't understand why. It's baffling to me. She should just stay in her lane. She should just be a female boxer. If she wants to go to higher heights and challenge herself even more, why don't she just fight Shadaysha Green? Let her move up and weight. I mean, I know she's undisputed in multiple divisions. Let her move up and fight Shadaysha Green. But she has no business trying to fight Keith Thurman. And if Keith Thurman would fight her, even with the competitive advantages he would give her, she would wear small gloves. He would wear bigger gloves. She would be allowed to wear headgear. He would just jab her. Even in that instance, she still has a 0% chance of winning. And not only that, but she's disrespecting him, what he's accomplished as a boxer, and she's putting him in a no-win situation. Because if he savagely beats her up, he's wrong. If he knocks her out, he's wrong. But on the flip side, if he lets her win, people is going to know that he let her win. And in addition to that, if she actually beats him, which she won't, because Keith Thurman is not just going to lay down and let her beat him. He's a world-class athlete also. So if she did win, you lost to a girl. So he's in a no-win situation. What he should do is he should do one or two things. He should do the first thing, though. He should just distance himself from the entire situation. I'm not interested. I know he just threw it out there. He really wasn't serious about it. Like, hey, I'll fight her for charity. and I would give her these advantages. He shouldn't do that either. Because fighting her would set a bad precedent for the sport of boxing. He should just not even entertain her. But if she cornered him and keep disrespecting him to the point where he was forced to fight her, I'm gonna just be truthful. I know it's gonna sound harsh, and some people are gonna say it's misogynistic. But if she forced him to the point where he had to beat her, then if he had to get in the ring, just dog walk her. I mean, not hit her upside the head, knock her out, but he should just savagely just beat up to the body and stop her in the first round because she's asking for this. She should just stand on lane and she should just leave this man alone and quit disrespecting what he's accomplished in the sport of boxing. I know she's considered the greatest female boxer of all time. She should just be content with that and leave this man alone. And shout out to the brother Brandon Brazil. But that's all I have to say, Kate.
Okay, yeah, and shout out to Brandon once again. Thank you for watching. And so, guys, let's talk about SU, Southern University, and this is each one of our models and as well as our alum. So, Coach, tell me, what do you think about what's going on with Southern's quarterback and their running backs? It's a lot going on. So tell me, what are your thoughts? Because it just seems like people are just falling off.
Well, like Kay said, myself, Kay Raymond, we all graduated from Southern University. The brother that's in the chat, Billy Bob, he graduated from Southern University. Also, the brother Jay Good, he attended Southern University. So, it's Jaguar Nation over here. And it's essentially Coach Dooley, he's named Harold Blood as starting quarterback for Southern University. And, I mean, it's no shock. I mean, ever since the spring game, he's been pegged as the starter. Now, it's not etched in stone, but a lot of us Jaguar fans, we happy that basically Coach Dooley's going in a different direction because Coach Odoms, he had Ladarius Skelton as the starting quarterback. And then when Dooley took over, he had Bashawn McCray. Southern University has had the last couple, the two of the last three quarterbacks have kind of been glorified running backs. Harold Blood is more of a pocket passer. He has a lot of weapons at his disposal. Some people think he's going to be a game manager, but he's the most experienced quarterback that Southern has on their roster. He's been there like 4 years, and he has like 2 years of eligibility left, including this year. So this year, next year, he'll still be there. But in terms of the running back situation, Gerard Sims, who's the starting running back, he's no longer academically eligible, so he's no longer with the team. Also, running back Carl Ligon, he was injured for whatever reason. I don't know if it's a personal issue or due to the injury. He's left the team also. Coach Dooley has left the door open for them to return at some point, maybe next season or whatever the case may be. So he's kind of like, left an open door for them to come back to return. But they won't be affected by that because, they have Kendrick Grimes. More than likely, Kobe Dillon is going to be the starting running back. He was a starting running back years ago, a few years back. But the thing with him is he missed the entire season last year. He's kind of injury prone. And in addition to also, they got Quarles from Alabama A&M. He made the all-SWAC team year before last. But last year, another running back beat him out and became all-SWAC. So Southern is loaded at that position. I don't think they're going to miss, Ligon and Sims. I think the only thing with Gerard Sims was the fact. The only thing they're gonna miss about him being the starting running back was the fact that all those running backs, Southern is loaded at running back, like I said in multiple videos, but he was the only power back of the group. Whereas all of these running backs, for the exception of Kobe Dillon, like they kind of glorified third down backs. They smallish backs. They catch the ball out the backfield. They kind of shifty, small type backs. Whereas Gerard Sims, he was the power back of the group. So I think that's the only component they're gonna miss. But in terms of like the actual depth, Southern had like 7 running backs, so it shouldn't really affect them too much. And in terms of them predicted to win the SWAC West, I think them losing those 2 running backs is not gonna affect that whatsoever.
Okay, Ray, what are your thoughts? Do you
Uh,
think it would affect them? Will it? Will it not?
I don't think it should. I don't think it really would affect them. I like the fact that Southern is going with a pocket passer. Me, I remember watching games, with Darius Skelton. Um, it's certain scramble quarterbacks that I like, and in some ways, like you don't. And I feel like that's something that Southern, I always rather Southern have is more of a pocket passer than just a scramble quarterback. So I'm glad they finally went in that direction again.
Okay, well, let's move on, guys, because this is it's something going on with Henry Ruggs the third. He was sentenced, if anyone doesn't know, that he was in an accident and he killed from a car accident with under DUI. He killed a lady and her dog. So he was sentenced to 3 to 10 years. What are your thoughts, Ray?
My thoughts is it's like, yeah, I know that like he got a person killed, which is, never good. There's a lot of times where people have been driving drunk and then hit a child and they didn't really get ridiculous time like that. They might have got like a year, 2 years, and with parole and stuff like that, or like, got the license taken away. But I would think in this sense that since he's an NFL player and he was a star at Alabama, that would kind of help him a little bit, but obviously that did not. This is something I would have to look up. I wonder if this is not his first DUI. If this was like maybe his third or his fourth, and that happened, then I would definitely understand him getting time. But I would think more around 2 to 5 years. You know, Probably would be like the range with somebody with a DUI, like 2 to 4 years. But when I seen that 10 on it, and I'm like, this boy could possibly get 10 years for this. I'm like, I don't know. Like he did take somebody's life, but it wasn't intentional. You got, I'm not trying to get into social justice, but you got people, police officers who have intentionally killed people and got no time. You got people, like George Zimmerman, who intentionally killed, Trayvon Martin, didn't get no time. And those are the only popular cases. No, it's a lot of instances where people have died and, but they ain't get no time. But, I ain't no judge. I have to do more research. I wonder as far as if this is first DUI or did he have several more before this. But I feel like it should have. I feel like they're gonna probably give him three. That's the only thing I could see. 3 years. Then his NFL career never really got off, in my opinion, anyway. So
Well, yeah, I would like to see his lawyers fight it because, like you said, there were instances when people did kill people with several DUIs, and they may have not gotten as harsh of a sentence. Coach, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree 100% with Raymond said, and like the brother Jared O'Levin Green said, that a race car driver that killed someone and he didn't get sentenced. And I'm gonna give another example. Like Raymond said, we really don't want to get too much in the social justice aspect of it, but let's be realistic. The justice system is not fair. Is extremely inconsistent. And I'm gonna give you another example. I don't know. This might be a little bit before Raymond's time, but the Saints, New Orleans Saints, had this dynamic receiver. His name was Dante Stallworth. Dante Stallworth was a beast. He had speed. He had good route running ability. After a certain point, he got hurt and he kind of declined a little bit. He eventually ended up leaving the Saints, and he had a DUI and he killed a lady. I think he killed a lady. No, I'll take that back. I think he killed a man. It was a pedestrian in the crosswalk. He was intoxicated. He killed that particular individual. So what they did from a sentencing standpoint, they suspended his license for life. So he can't ever drive again. One. Two, they gave him like 3 years probation, 3 to 5, I think 3 to 5 years probation. I think he was on like 5 years probation. And he had to pay like a ridiculous fine. And then they They sued him civilly, and he had to give up some money. So essentially, he has to have like a chauffeur for the rest of his life. But either way they could go, he got no prison time. So he got like 5 years probation. They suspended his driver's license for life, and he didn't get sentenced to any time. And like, like Jared 11 Green was saying, they had a race car driver that killed someone also. He got probation too. And like Raymond pointed out, is inconsistent. Like, so if you look at the case with Dante Stallworth, he got 5 years probation. You look at a similar situation with Henry Ruggs III, he got sentenced to 3 to 5 years. Whereas, like he pointed out with George Zimmerman got no time. Like he intentionally, first of all, he was a neighborhood watchman. So he wasn't an actual police officer. I mean, of course, you have police officers that kill people every day and they get sentenced to no time. But in a particular instance with him, like he intentionally killed this man. Well, first of all, he wasn't a cop. Second of all, he pursued him after 911 said he like, hey, I wouldn't do that. He pursued him anyway. He had an incident. Trayvon Martin was getting the best of him and he killed him. And he got no time. So it just kind of goes to show you the inconsistency of the justice system. In many instances, your socioeconomic status plays into it. Race plays into it. So it's a variety of different factors. So it's crazy how he got sentenced to 3 to 10 years, or someone like Dante Stallworth, he got 5 years, I think 3 to 5 years of probation. And then you have other people that, got a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine, whatever the case may be. But like Raymond said, the only factor I could see that really could kind of play into him getting the amount of time he got is if the fact that he had multiple DUIs. Now, I've known people that got like 5 DUIs or whatever the case may be, and they got sentenced to like 10 to 15 years in prison, because they had like multiple DUIs. They had the breathalyzer in their car and they still got a DUI, whatever the case may be. So if his circumstances was extreme like that, he had multiple DUIs and he killed someone, all right, that's understandable. But if this is his like lone and isolated DUI and he killed someone, I mean, I don't know. To me, it has to be more consistency. It's just all over the place in terms of, one person committed crime, they get no time. Another person committed crime, they get, a little time. Another person committed crime, they get a ridiculous amount of time. So it's the wild inconsistency in our justice system that's kind of mind-boggling and baffling. It's like, wow, this is extremely inconsistent,
Okay, well, and yeah, it's real sad. So, our prayers are with the family who lost their loved one, as well as with his family as well, Henry Ruggs the third. So, guys, let's talk about our home team, the Saints. We see that they may be trying to sign a running back as well as a linebacker. And so start us off, coach, because I know you have something to tell us. What are your thoughts?
Well, in terms of Kareem Hunt, I think Kareem Hunt will be a great addition to the New Orleans Saints running back, room in terms of, I think he was overrated. I think he was not overrated. I think he was underrated when he was with the Chiefs. I think he was a good back with the Cleveland Browns. I think he'll be a good addition to the Saints. But in terms of whether the Saints actually sign him or not, it kind of remains to be seen because, he met with the Colts. He's meeting with the Vikings. I think he maybe met with the Vikings already. Of course, the Saints has Alvin Kamara. They have Williams. They have the running back that they drafted. So, it's kind of interesting whether, they already have a loaded running, kind of like, I was talking about Southern earlier. The Saints have a lot of depth at the running back position. Not as much as the Southern on their level, but the Saints have a lot of depth at the running back position. It's kind of going to be interesting to see whether they sign him or not, because one of those backs is a veteran back Williams that they got from the Detroit Lions. Of course, Adam Kamara, he's one of your franchise cornerstone pieces. but he's going to be suspended 3 games also. That's one of the variables that people need to take into consideration. That he's going to be suspended 3 games. You have a rookie you drafted. You have a veteran back. So I think Kareem Hunt will be good, especially in that 3 game window where Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended. I think he'll be a good fit, but it's going to kind of remain to see whether they could get him or not. In terms of Anthony Barr, I think he has a little juice left in the tank, but to be truthful, I think he's seen his better days. And then one other component to it, the Saints, I think they really desire to play him at the outside linebacker position. Whereas to me, I think he's more of a pass rusher. So I don't know how much of a fit he would be because, more than likely, of course, Cam Jordan is going to start at one end. Carl Granderson is probably going to start at the other end. And maybe Peyton Turner will be like a pass rusher, because they drafted him in the first round. At some point, just kind of like, Marcus Davenport, at some point, Peyton Turner is going to have to turn a corner, no pun intended, and be the starting defensive end opposite of Cam Jordan because, they invested a lot in him. And in terms of Fauci, he's going to be a rookie. They drafted him in the second round from Notre Dame, but it's going to kind of be interesting to see like what's going to happen.
Okay, Ray, tell me, do you think this is a good decision what the Saints is trying to make, like Coach said with Kareem and with Anthony? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is that when I first seen it, I was like, yes, I'm all for it. But then I started thinking about it from Kareem Hunt's end. It would not be in his best benefit. Like, I'd rather see him go to the Colts or the Vikings because I'm one of those type of people. I don't like seeing talent get wasted. He comes to the Saints, his talent will get wasted. First 3 games is gonna get used, but we got the Rook, who I think the Rook will make an impact. Um, the rookie, we got Jamal Williams. So me for the first 3 games, I'm looking for Jamal Williams and the Rook to get in the groove of the offense, and that's perfect. For why Alvin Kamara is out, let them two get in the groove of the offense and let them, get their shine on. That Alvin come back and you got this 3-headed monster in the backfield. But it's like the first 3 games, you got Kareem Hunt with the Rook and Jamal Williams. They trying to all 3 of them trying to find their rhythm and get their touches. It's just gonna throw off the team chemistry. Then it's like boom, now all y'all got to take a back seat once Alvin Kamara comes back. Now that's the thing about too much talent in one place. So I feel like it will work horribly for this. I ain't gonna say horribly, but it wouldn't work as splendid for the Saints. And from Kareem Hunt's end, why would he go somewhere where he only could start for 3 games or play for 3 games and not even start? Compared to someone like the Colts or the Vikings who need a running back. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it makes more sense for him to go to the Colts or go to the Vikings or somewhere where he will start for the whole season or heavily be used. And as far as Anthony Barr, I'm all for it. Um, Especially with Caden Ellis, since Caden Ellis left, who I kind of viewed him as he was a pretty good balanced all around linebacker. He could blitz, he could tackle, and he could cover. And I kind of view Anthony Barr as the same. And he has that experience. I was watching After Further Review. I don't know if any of y'all watched that. And he was talking about Anthony Barr was the one who picked off Drew Brees in that 2017 wild card game that, we had the Minnesota Miracle. But he was in that game. And I remember him picking off Drew Brees. Well, I remember watching the highlight of him picking off Drew Brees because I was at work when that happened. And I remember I seen the score and I called I called Coach. I was like, Coach, what happened? And man, Coach was so mad on the phone when the Minnesota Miracle happened, bro. But not to get off topic, I really do like us getting Anthony Barr. Another person who I think they should try and go after is Kwan Alexander. But we get Anthony Barr, and some people don't like what's his name? Come on, you know his name. Pete Warner. Some people don't they kind of feel some type of way about Pete Warner, but I like Pete Warner, especially from a coverage standpoint. I feel like he could get it done. Kind of small and undersized, but the thing I like about him, he's not afraid to get dirty. So I feel like that'll be a good linebacking corpse right there. And I need to go also do research to see if they still have Mike Anderson on the team. He was an undrafted free agent from Tulane. He just gave me a little bit of glimpses of savagery. So I got to see if the Saints still have him on the team, which they should. But, of course, I don't know about y'all. I'm going to definitely watch the Saints tomorrow and, see what all those guys do.
And Ray, you said something that I agree with. If there's too much talent, people will be overshadowed. So, but my biggest concern is the head. If someone isn't leading things or making the right decisions, how can take that talent and use it in the right context? And so that's my concern with the coaching. Will he be able to use his talent in the right way, that he can go beyond just making the playoffs? Will he be able to execute the Super Bowl? So if you aren't making the right decisions, how can you do that? Because I watched him last season and he was not making the right decisions. So, Coach, would you like to respond?
Yeah, he's 100% accurate from the Kareem Hunt standpoint. He probably would get like some touches that those first 3 games, but once AK-41 returns, he probably not probably he would have to take a back seat. Whereas I kind of compared it to the Southern situation. The difference is like if you look at Southern situation, Kobe Dillon is like he's injury prone, so more than likely he probably won't make it through the entire season. Kendrick Grimes, Quarles, Morgan, all of those guys are smallish third down type backs. Morgan could return like kickoffs. Another maybe Rhymes could return punts. So all of these guys, they kind of similar and interchangeable, and you can use them all simultaneously. Whereas in the NFL, you can't. If you got 4 backs that all need carries, everybody cannot get carries. So, Raymond brought up an excellent point. Now, in terms of the Anthony Barr, he's 100% right. He kind of brought back some flashbacks when he talked about, the Minnesota Miracle and that type of thing. But, he's right from the standpoint he could cover at times. But like he brought up Caden Ellis, I think that's like an accurate comparison. I think Caden Ellis is kind of like Anthony Barr. I think both of them, they were more – I think they were better used in terms of a blitzing role and a pass rushing type role. I think from a coverage standpoint, I don't think their coverage skills is as good as he said. Now, in terms of what he was saying about Pete Warner, I'm one of those kind of guys. I think Pete Warner is definitely overrated. I'm one of those guys that thinks that, for one, he's undersized. I mean, he looks more like a smallish, strong safety as opposed to an outside linebacker in the NFL. But I think he's right from the standpoint, like he's very good in coverage. But the point is, he's so undersized that he's a liability in a run game, And I remember, he brought up K'Wan Alexander, and of course, the brother Jared O'Levin Green to tell you, K'Wan Alexander is no longer on the market. He signed with the Steelers because another one of our brothers that's on the show, on the Southern Baller Show, Brent Fox, he's a Steelers fan, and K'Wan Alexander went to the Steelers. So he was the guy that I like that the Saints let go because they couldn't afford to keep him. But he was that, that perfect blend of he can cover, he's athletic, he can blitz, he can rush the passer. He was the guy that I preferred. Barr, Caden Ellis, I think those guys are serviceable. I think if they could get Barr, I think it'll be a decent pickup. But, I think he's better in like that blitz and pass rushing type role, though,
Okay, guys. Well, let me ask you this about the Saints. They are playing the Chiefs tomorrow. Do you see them surviving it? I hate to say it like that, but do you even see the Saints even winning? Let's start with you, Ray. What are your thoughts?
It's a preseason game, so I really don't care what they do. I just want to see
Well,
certain
still,
players.
you have to have some doubt. Do you think they're gonna do okay?
it's a preseason game. Nobody really goes out there to win the game. It doesn't count for like they count as a record, but it's not like you can win a preseason Super Bowl or something.
Well,
Like
no, but still, you want to be prepared for what the regular season is going to bring ahead. So that's why asked that question like that.
I know, but I'm just saying, like it's not like the Saints lose 0-34 tomorrow, I'm not gonna be mad in front of my TV compared to if it's week 5 in the regular season and the Saints get blew out 35-0, then I'm gonna be like, hey, bro, something gotta shake. So that's what I mean by I really don't care what happens tomorrow. It's just I want to see what certain people do. Like I gotta go see if they're starting like Derek Carr and stuff like that. Cause I was watching the Broncos and the Cardinals last night, and they started Russell Wilson, the whole starting offense. And I got to see what Russell Wilson could do. That offensive line still trash. The Cardinals was blitzing Russell Wilson all night and was getting to him in a lot of cases. He was able to throw a touchdown to Jared Judy at some point, but that was after Jared Judy dropped a wide open pass. But with me bringing that up, I'm kind of curious to see what if they play Derek Carr and Michael Thomas and some of the starters. I'm curious to see what they would do and how the chemistry will look. But that's pretty much it. Like I want to see the what's his name, the guy that came from Fresno State who took those model type of pictures holding the. I don't know if y'all seen them pictures. I'm curious to see what he does. How they look and stuff like that. And half of the guys that you see play during the preseason not going to be on the team. So this is like the only game, of their life and stuff like that they get to play in the NFL. So that's what it's really all about. So I'm just looking for certain players to see what they do and how they play. And that's the only thing I'm looking for from tomorrow. That's pretty much it.
Okay, coach, what about you? Are you looking forward to seeing the Saints do something, or you just really don't care, as Ray said?
Raymond is 100% accurate. Boo, it's a preseason game. It really has no bearing and no impact on anything. Like he said, more than likely your starters are only going to play maybe a handful of series. So in those initial series, you want to see what they can do or whatever the case may be. But after that, like he said, most of those guys, they more than anything, they fight for roster spots. And even if they do get cut, they want to, perform well enough where they have good footage out there. So even if they do get cut, another team will pick them up. And maybe another team will trade for them. Like, for example, give you a perfect example, Taysom Hill. The Saints were playing against the Packers at the time. People don't realize Taysom Hill was playing for the Packers. And Sean Payton saw him on when he was, looking at the game footage leading up to the game he was preparing for the Packers. He saw Taysom Hill, and people don't realize that's how Sean Payton eventually ended up getting Taysom Hill to the Saints. And, it's been – and of course, I'm sure other coaches saw the footage of him, but they really didn't know how to use him, whereas Sean Payton did. So, like he said, once those starters aren't in the game, more than anything, these guys are fighting for roster spots. They're trying to get good footage out there. And for those that don't make it, they'll end up playing maybe in the CFL, the XFL, the USFL, So, because, even people don't realize, I know it's, like I said earlier, it's Jaguar Nation over here. But our former, outstanding player, Jordan Lewis, he just signed a contract for, I think if I'm not mistaken, like one of those, I think maybe not USFL, I think XFL, one of those type of teams. So Jordan Lewis signed a contract recently. So the point I'm trying to make is, like Raymond said, once those starters are out the game, a lot of these guys won't make the roster because, you start off with like 85 players and you have to cut it from 85 to 55. So a lot of these guys that, once the starters go out, they're going to be special teams players. They're going to be backups. They're going to be into the bench type guys. Maybe they're even on a practice squad. Who knows? So, like Raymond said, it's preseason. It really has no bearing on anything. The last preseason, the last team I saw that went undefeated in preseason, and they took that momentum and they carried it over to the regular season was the Rams. The initial Super Bowl run with the greatest show on turf. That's the last team. And the crazy thing about it is, I think Trent Green, he got hurt like in maybe the third or fourth preseason game, and basically, they say, hey, we gonna Kurt Warner's our backup. We're not gonna go out and go get another high profile quarterback. We're gonna stick with Kurt Warner. He's gonna be our guy. And he ended up becoming a Hall of Fame quarterback after that. So that's the only team I saw that preseason really had a bearing and impact on them, because like maybe like 3 or 4 seasons later, the Raiders went undefeated in the preseason. Then they turned around and lost like the first 4 regular season games, and they were like terrible, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So the point Randall was making it is a valid point. Preseason means nothing. In fact, more than likely, when the Saints play, I'll be at church. I may record the game and come back and watch it first bit of the game, and then just delete it. So, like you said, the preseason means nothing.
Well, okay. Well, hopefully we're going to speak good things in that we look forward to the Saints making it to the Super Bowl and winning, as
Hey,
well as
I agree
with
100%.
and as well as for Southern, they're going to have a successful season, and for it's not just that stopping there, as well as for LSU and with the Pelicans. So we look forward to what 2023, 2024 holds for our teams at home. So
Oh,
guys,
hold up. Let me add a little caveat to the Southern part. Win the SWAC West, win the SWAC Championship, and then go on and win the Celebration Bowl.
okay, I'll take that, coach. Okay, so guys, we really appreciate everyone. Ray, can you tell them where to they can see you, where they can follow you?
Y'all can see me on live, like y'all see me now. I'm just playing. But y'all could find my YouTube is Ray Swank. Um, Instagram underscore King Ray underscore. And yeah, that's pretty much where y'all can find me at. Um, you know.
Okay, coach, tell everyone where they can follow you, where they can see you.
All right. Before I tell everyone where they can see me, shout out to our 4 panelists, Rude Dog. He kind of been MIA lately. Hopefully we can get him next weekend on the show, but he has a pretty busy schedule. So, shout out to our other panelists, our other cousin, Big Rude Dog. We got to get you back on the show, whatever the case may be. But, y'all can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms, here on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, on Twitter. I'm all over the place in terms of social media. More than anything, we trying to grow the platform, and then we trying to branch off and do bigger and better things. So there's great things for the future of Bayou Sports Talk. We appreciate everybody that came and joined us. We appreciate everybody that's been rocking with us since day one. Also, catch my brother. We didn't have the show last weekend because, something came up. But 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow, Southern Baller Show. We're going to get it out the mud. Let's get it.
All right, guys. Once again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your time and your effort. And if you have anything that you would like us to uh, talk about that you have not heard, as well as you enjoyed the topics, please put the comment down below in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, and share our channel. So, and lastly, guys, the closing quote: the only one who can tell you you can't win is you, and you don't have to listen. So, guys, have a great day. Love you all. Bye bye.